Record. There we go. So I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come to PDC training. It is a mandated training per regulations that every PDC chair is trained annually. However, this year it's even more important because not only are we going to do your annual training, but we're also going to finish up the last portion, the local portion of the 5-year plan that you're umbrellaed under if you use our PDC 2.0 system. A couple housekeeping things. We're pretty informal here, so if you need to use facilities, they're down the hall to the left or to the east. There's tea and water, there's coffee, snacks. Make yourself at home, slip right in. We are just family. So the other thing is I know that in the next few weeks that you're going to go to in-service, and there will be so many opportunities for you to do an icebreaker at those opportunities. And so I'm not going to ask you to do that. That was always my least favorite part of in-service, so I don't want to inflict that upon you. And we do have quite a bit to cover. The goal is to get you out earlier than what's on the calendar, and we were able to accomplish that this morning. So I think the likelihood is great that we can get you out maybe close to an hour early. So we will move along if that's okay with you guys. If you have questions, please ask. The only thing I do ask is that for our in-house participants that your green light is on when you ask a question, mainly because that's the only way the Zoom participants can hear what is being said. It's really difficult if you're in the back of the room and you ask a question for them to hear you. As someone who has sat in on a lot of Zoom meetings, I'm straining to hear what they're saying, and what you have to say is valuable. The question you have is probably a question everyone has. And so please feel free to ask questions. If you're on Zoom, feel free to unmute and ask, or throw a question in the chat. Patty is monitoring the chat during the session, and so we'll try to take care of all the questions that we can. And so without further ado, we're going to just jump right into the training. We are going to start with the regular portion of the training. Once we finish that portion, and I'll let you know when we're done with that part. If you are not a PDC 2.0 client where you're entering your points in our system, where my consultants are coming to your school twice a year, then you are free to go at that point. Because you have to do your own 5-year plan. One of the many advantages of being one of our clients is that not only do we have the online system and we make it easy for you, but you are under our umbrella plan. You don't have to write the 36-page plan. The only thing we're going to ask you to do today is do a few things to tell us about your local procedures. We'll do that together, and I'll walk you right through it. And at that point, our plan is slated, we are told, to go in front of the state board in September. And so our goal is to finish up these this tiny bit of local information we need in order for that plan to go on to the state board and be approved. Our cycle, we were to turn in our plan last summer. We did on time. They've told us over and over that we are in compliance because we turned in on time. During this past year, however, the plan changed quite a bit of what KSDE wanted from what they had originally had wanted from us. So hence the delay in getting approved and the new questions we have to ask you. So I know we answered some questions last year, but when they revamped everything, that changed some of the things that we need to know. So we will get on moving. Maybe. There we go. We have some consultants that if you're part of our PDC 2.0 plan, we send consultants in the spring and in the fall to visit with your teachers, make sure that they're on on schedule, on track to get renewed. So this is our staff of PDC consultants and support staff, and you'll see there's a couple of new names, Rebecca Bencomo and Haley. No, I can't, I never. Cuellar. I keep trying to say Cuellar, but it's Cuellar. Our two new consultants, and so some of you will see them at your district. Our other consultants are Natalie Briscoe, Pam Gleason, who is here. Thank goodness for Pam. She's our veteran. Jen Stelter, Mary Jane White. Patty and I answer questions here from the headquarters or the office. And so we try to keep abreast on all the new changes with licensure and things that you might need to know. But please always feel free to reach out to us with any questions during the year. All of us, our naming domain for our emails is always firstname.lastname@swplains.org. So feel free to reach out anytime. The state board's vision is that Kansas leads the world in the success of every student. And I bring this up because in reality, everything about professional development stems off of this vision that everything we are doing in professional development should be a part of leading the world in the success of every student. The more successful our staff is, the more successful they can be in the classroom. And so that's the vision that the state board has for our state. So just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about and some of your responsibilities as PDC chairs or PDC committee members is that you, one, by regulation, participate in an annual training. That is one of the mandated requirements, is that the PDC chair would participate in an annual training and then go back and train the rest of the PDC committee, that the committee would in turn then train the teachers or teach them, what they need to know about renewal and professional development. That you would, as a committee, develop operational procedures, that you develop a 5-year plan. Every district must have a 5-year plan. Again, if you're part of Southwest Plains and use our program, then you're under our umbrella of that master plan. And so we're going to circle back to that a little later. That you approve individual development plans. That's usually done once a year. That's a really great activity for right at the beginning of school, because every teacher, every staff member needs to update their individual plan every year. Even if they only go in and change merely the year. If their goals are staying the same, that's fine, but they do need to change that year. And then once they hit submit, then that will pop up in your approvals, and then you as a committee would approve those. And then this is probably the bulk of your work as a PDC committee, is that you're approving or rejecting points requests. That's probably the bulk of the work. You have a little bit of the IDP stuff at the beginning of the year. The rest of the year, you're meeting about points requests. So who needs PDC? Well, to me, pretty much everyone. Anyone who's teaching at your school. Standard substitute license needs PDC points. I think the initial, if they're on an initial certificate, they don't need it to actually upgrade to a professional license, but if they're ever going to get application or impact points, they certainly could use some of those knowledge points that they got during their initial period. And if those aren't in the system, they have no way to point back to those points. Every professional license needs PDC points. Transitional license will need points. Some things that don't is if you're nationally board certified, you don't need that. And then there is the occasion of you have a graduate degree and now you only need, you get 2 times to renew on experience. This is kind of a mysterious thing. They tell you that you get 2 times to renew on experience, which is true. But there's really no mechanism to know where you are on that. The only mechanism to know whether or not that's available to you is to do a license lookup and read on your license. And if it says, or based on experience, then you have at least 1 left. But it doesn't tell you 1 of 2, anything like that. But when you've used up 2, then that line disappears from your license. So that's something you'll just have to keep track on of yourself. To renew on experience, you need to have taught at least 3 of the 5-year license period in an accredited district. So that's how experience goes. So this is a really big deal. If an activity does not meet the definition of either of these 2 things, the committee should not consider it for points. It must meet the definition of in-service education or service to the profession. And you say, but what are the definitions? I'm glad you asked. In-service education, this is straight from the regs, means that professional development and staff development shall include any planned learning opportunities provided to licensed personnel employed by a school district or other authorized educational agency for the purposes of improving the performance of these personnel in already held or assigned positions. Okay, so that's the definition of in-service education. So it could be a workshop, it could be back to school in service, it could be mid-year in service, it could be book study, anything that is provided to a person employed by a school district or educational agency that's for the purpose of improving performance. Okay, so that's in service definition. And this is the tricky one. This is the one that we get a lot of calls about. Service to the profession means any activity that assists others in acquiring proficiency in instructional systems, pedagogy, or content, or directly relates to the licensure of professional educators, accreditation processes, or professional organizations. Those are the only things that can count for service to the profession. So working the track meet, yes, is a service to your district, but it does not qualify as service to the profession. It doesn't relate to the licensure or professional educators or the licensure of professional educators or accreditation or professional organizations. Helping with the forensics meet, while noble and needed, does not count as service to the profession because it does not meet this definition. And so sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow because we all do. When we're in a small district, even in a large district, you wear a lot of hats and you do a lot of things that were never in your job description. I can't tell you how many hours I've sat at ball games or worked track meets or done the books or all those things, but they weren't for my licensure. And so I couldn't count them as service for the profession. So does that make sense? Any questions? Yes.
I have one.
Yes, please.
Years ago, I think they had said like teacher meetings, SIT meetings, things like that. Does that count?
A regular teachers meeting, like you have a regular Friday teachers meeting, no.
Okay.
If it is, I need Jane. She always had a really good
I've seen SIT meetings. What does SIT stand for?
student improvement team.
Yeah, I think that counts.
If at that meeting, you're going over things to help the teachers be able to teach those students, yes. But if it's just to plan the students' interventions, no. is how I believe Ed qualified it. So the when we've asked these questions to the state, they've always said it's sort of if it's part of your job or whatever, then no. But if it's for improving the actual teaching or improving just providing professional development, yes.
Okay.
So sometimes maybe you have a sit meeting, but you're all learning a new method of doing something. Or
What about as far as like NEA, like going to the negotiation training? Is that?
I think based on our conversations with them, I think going to the training where you're learning,
Mhm.
then yes.
That would be a service.
But to serve on the committee,
It's
no,
okay.
to do the actual negotiations. But and then if you're in a professional organization and you're serving as an officer and that organization is leading to the betterment of teachers, yes. Yeah, everything has to point back to how you're helping teachers become better. All right, any other questions? I know that one's always a can of worms, so I apologize in advance. It's always been kind of a murky area, and so I think this regulation is designed to try to help clear up that murkiness and give you some teeth to say. Seen the whole realm, yeah. But hopefully this regulation gives you something to say, I'm sorry, but this is what the regulation says.
You'll send us these slides?
Yes, I will have the slides on our website, and we'll send out today at the end of the day. And yeah, and that way you can use this with your people to train them as well.
I just answered in the chat that we're posting the recording and the slide deck by the end of the week.
Yes.
You're telling them by the end of the day.
I'm sorry, I do mean week. I really, really do mean week. Sorry, that would be ambitious to try to download the recording. So some things to ask yourself: does it count as in-service education? Is it a planned opportunity, learning opportunity? Is there instructor providing guidance, or is it self-directed? And if it is self-directed, and that's okay, like book studies and things like that, is there a plan of learning? Does it have learning objectives? How will it improve the performance of licensed personnel? How are the results evaluated? So things like book studies, those are designed with objectives, and even though they're self-direct, you're doing them on your own time. There's an evaluation, there's an assignment. So that would, yes, count. So I know this part's probably old hat for most of you, but just as part of the training, we want to go over it. When we award points, there are 3 levels of points. There's no limits on the number of points that anyone may earn for a license renewal. So in a 5-year period, I might have 800 points. I went to a lot of in-services, or maybe I got my master's. That would be a case where there's going to be a lot of points. There's no limit on the points for renewal. Really, the only limit is at the end of that 5-year period, those points become null. They stay on my record so that I can point back to them later. But I start over on my new license period with 0 points and have to earn a new set of points to renew the next time, right? Now, where this gets confusing sometimes is districts may have a policy with their staff, maybe it's in the negotiated agreement or whatever, that they can move on the pay scale with college credits or points. And sometimes districts will say, yes, you can do that, but we're going to cap how many points a year you can use to move over on the scale. that's fine and dandy. Whatever the negotiated agreement, that's fine and dandy. But please keep in mind that for the purpose of renewal, that policy about moving on the pay scale has nothing to do with renewing. They are two separate animals and they have different requirements. The one for moving on the pay scale is completely a local decision on how they do it. Renewal, there's no limit on the points. There's no cap, it has nothing to do with pay schedules. It only has to do with renewal. So sometimes we get questions, they'll say, a person will call and say, well, I had more points, but I could only get 60 because the district says I can only have 60. Well, they're confusing what the local agreement is for moving on the pay scale with what their renewal is. So just wanted to make sure that you knew there's no limits on how many points you can earn in a 5-year period. So the matrix for doing that, the one that you are probably most familiar with is knowledge, where you get 1 point for 1 hour of seat time. That's usually how I look at it. 1 hour of time, 1 point. Not including if there's a break for lunch, you don't get to count the lunch time or things like that. And that goes across your content, your professional education, and your service to the profession. 1 point for 1 hour of seat time. Then the second level, which I would dare say that the bulk of us rarely see, is application, where you can earn 2 times the points. But the caveat is that you have to have earned the knowledge points first so that you can point back to those knowledge points to get the application. So let's say I attend a workshop for 6 hours and I request 6 knowledge points. They get approved. A couple of months later, a couple of years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, I decide, hey, I want to use this with my kids. So I'm going to apply what I learned in that to my classroom. I'm going to document what I do with them, lesson plans, maybe a pre-test and a post-test or something where I can show evidence. I do it. I can now go in and apply for 12 points because the original knowledge points were 6. I point back when I enter it in the system, I point back to that exact, because your history of points is all there from the beginning of your record. I go back, point to that one, and whatever points I earned in that knowledge is what I can get for double. Now, let's say well, that turned out well. Let's do more. Let's see if we can get some impact and improve student performance. And so I want to do some more with this and maybe do some more data collecting on my kids and as we do it and practice it. I can now go back and request 3 times the points of that original knowledge. And again, I'm going to point back to it when I enter it. So then I would get 3 times those points of what was originally there. So it could be a great deal. I could get quite a few points out of one thing if I go back to use it. And ideally, that's what professional development is meant to do. It's meant to give the teacher learning so that they can apply it in their classroom. And then we're rewarding it with these points. Now, I would dare say that I will be honest, I think I applied for application points once in my career. And I know I never applied for impact. I could have, but I had enough points, so I just didn't. So, but be aware that those things are there, but that's how that works. The one thing to note, you can never ask for double or triple the application or the impact points for service to the profession. That is always only 1 point per hour. I'm going to, yes.
On that, you'd want to get your knowledge approved first,
Mhm.
then get your application approved before
Before doing impact.
turning impact, because I know I visited with a teacher once and she wanted to turn them all in at once. I
Right.
said they need to be pre-approved before you go
Yes.
on.
Because when you apply for application, your knowledge points come in a little drop down thing for people using our system.
Right. Right. Plus, you know that how many points you have approved. So you know how many to ask for. So some things to think about for knowledge. Probably some of the things, again, it's really seat time. A lot of times you'll ask for evidence, things like an agenda maybe, or that's usually the one I turn in is an agenda from the event for evidence. Sometimes you could ask for like a reflection on it or something like that. If it's service to profession, I do get sometimes some questions about what do I ask for documentation? So they could turn in minutes of the meeting or maybe notes they took during the meeting. That's usually the one. If it's a lot of people don't usually ask for documentation, but if you do that, that would be a good example of documentation. For the application points, sorry, some verification could be direct observation, asking someone to come and observe you teaching that to your students, or tape yourself or video yourself, lesson plans, pre and post samples of student work, could be documentation. And for level 3, the big thing they want to know in level 3 to get those triple points is how has the student's performance improved and what positively changed about the program. So some evidence might be evidence of district or school policy change, evidence of level 2 application activities by others. Maybe there was a revision of your curriculum by doing this and turning that in. You could also turn in like evidence of students' academic performance. That's, I think of, telling up the class average and show what it was before this and what after, if there was improved school attendance, etc. So moving on rapidly, college credit. So for college credit to be used for license renewal, courses must do these things. They must relate to the content endorsement of that person or professional education standards. It must come from a regionally accredited higher education institute. So whatever college has to be accredited by an appropriate accreditation program. And you must receive a transcript from the registrar's office. There are some exceptions to this sometimes, especially if we're close, like somebody has got to apply right away, maybe a screenshot of their grade and then turn in the application later or the transcript later. For the accreditation, these are the accreditation associations that are approved. So whatever college they are getting their credits from must be accredited by one of these institutes. And these come straight off KSD's website. New England Commission of Higher Ed, the Middle States Commission of Higher Ed, Higher Learning Commission, Northwest Association, Southern, Western Association, Western Association of Community and Junior Colleges, and the Association for Biblical Higher Education. And that's usually, I've always seen them on different colleges' websites of who they're accredited through. So as long as that college is accredited appropriately, then you can accept the college credit from them. This is pretty common knowledge. It might not be though for some of your new staff. If they have a bachelor's degree, if they hold a bachelor's degree, every 5 years, once they get their professional license, to all these exceptions, isn't there? Is that they must submit 160 professional development points earned under an approved individual development plan to renew their license. So every 5 years, person with a bachelor's needs 160 points. Caveat for the bachelor's degree is that they must have half of their points, 80, come from college credit. Every 1 hour of college credit equals 20 points. So that 80 points is the equivalent of 4 credit hours. So every 5 years, a person with a bachelor's needs to have 80 points of college credit and 80 points of any other kind. And it could be college credit as well, or it can be in service, or it can be workshops or book studies or whatever. But absolutely 80 points have to come from college credit. And then the PDC determines the appropriateness of the college credit before awarding the points.
And Tracy, this is people with a bachelor's degree renewing a professional license.
Yes.
So the questions I get a lot is they're on their initial license. Do they still need points? And they don't need the points to renew their license, but it's still a good idea to have those knowledge points be on their transcript for later if they apply for application. But they don't need them to move to a professional license.
Right.
That's why it's confusing.
Yes. Yeah. So sometimes people will tell them, well, you don't need any points, so don't worry about it, which technically is true until you get your professional license. But then later they say, oh, I would like to get some application points for what I did during my initial. Well, if it's not on your transcript, you can't point back to it. And so I always recommend to people on initials to get in the habit of entering your points. That's not going to hurt you or break you.
Right. The
Just get in
system
the
doesn't
habit.
care how many points you have.
Exactly.
And also just a good record of all the trainings you've been to
Yes.
is the other reason.
Yes. And we have had people call back and say, do you have a record of what all I went to? And technically, yes. Easy to get to? No. So it's just a good practice to enter everything you're doing. It's just good practice. And there's no cap on how many points you can get. So it doesn't hurt anything, right? So if you have an advanced degree, you have a master's, a doctorate, whatever, then all you need is 120 points. There's no caveat on where those points come from. They can come from college credit. That's just fine. But they don't have to come from college credit. Only need 120. A lot of our people that have masters, they get to that magic 120 point on their transcript and they just quit entering. And I don't blame them. I would probably do the same exact thing. And that's fine. As long as they have the 120 when it's time to renew, that's all that really matters, right? They're just not required to do more than that. And I always tell most of them can get 120 points easy from in-service in 5 years. Easy. Sometimes the first week of school. Who knows? So it can be any combination of those. The licensure system has changed slightly. Well, no, not really slightly. A lot. 10 years ago, or now actually about 6 years ago, was when they first started the online applications, which completely changed how we did things compared to the past, where we downloaded a form, filled it out by hand. We ordered every one of our college transcripts we'd ever gone to and paid the big bucks, to now that you can get online, you fill out the application online. They have changed the website even just since the end of the school year over the summer. I renewed this summer and it was different than what I had screenshots of before. So there's no longer the numbers like 3, 3A, 24, 12, whatever those numbers were. the numbers are there once you get into the KLAS system, but they're not on this first page. So this is just a screenshot of the first page. You can see what licenses you can renew online. So the initial, you can renew or get your initial school specialist. You can get your school leadership license. You can add endorsements based on finishing an approved program. You can add endorsements from testing. You can get your substitute license, a temporary renewable. You can renew your 5-year, that's our old 3A. You can renew an initial teaching school specialist or school leadership 2-year license. And just a side note, those can be renewed over and over. So if someone has gotten their building license and maybe they didn't want to take a building leader position yet and do the mentoring, they can just renew it again, and they can keep doing that until they decide to do it, to take a position, and then they do their mentoring. Also, upgrading your initial school specialist or school leadership based on mentoring, and your provisional. And then probably the best piece of advice I can give you is if you don't know the answer to something, or if there's a weird situation, the final authority is always KSDE. And so a lot of times people call and ask us questions, and a lot of times we can answer. Sometimes there's situations that we're not 100% sure about. And we are often going to say, this is what we think, but to be sure, email KSDE. And on the teacher licensure page, here in the red box, I have the TLA license at ksde.gov. I can tell you that this is the very best way to get in contact with KSDE. You can call, and most likely you will not get a human. And you're going to get stuck in a queue and maybe never talk to a human and leave a message, and you never hear back. But if you email, they have someone that is monitoring the email. They then assign it to one of their specialists, and then they will get back to you. I have never emailed and not had them get back to me within a day or two at the most. So that's your very best line of defense. And if Patty or I or Pam say, I think this is how it is, but I'm not 100% sure, why don't you email KSDE? This is the email address to use. So just as a quick review, for bachelor's degree, 160 points, half need to be college hours. For a master's and higher, 120 points, no college hours required. If you're retired, if a person is retired, those lucky devils, I'm so envious. They only need half the points, right, Pam?
Yep.
Yep. Now, the caveat is, if a person decides to stop teaching, I'm one of those, I retired from teaching to come to the service center, but I did not retire through capers. I did not fill out my capers paperwork. I'm not drawing my capers. I just stopped teaching. And in my children's mind, I'm supposed to be retired. I don't know why they think that, but that's the idea. I still have to fulfill all my normal requirements to renew. Once I decide to really retire and draw my capers down, then I could go to this half points. The first time I renew to be retired, they're going to ask, if I'm retired, that I turn in a letter from capers proving that I am really, really retired. Super easy to do. You get on capers website, there's a button at the top of the page that says retirement letter for renewal. You click that, they're going to shoot you this letter that you attach to your application. And then from then on, it's just half of the points, with the caveat that if you still only have a bachelor's degree, yes, it's half points, but you still have to have half the credit college credits. So instead of 4 credit hours, you now have 2, but you still have to have college credit. Does that make sense? Sometimes that's confusing for people that are retiring. And then the biggest thing I could tell you is no matter what, because remember I said KSDE is the final authority, whatever is printed on your license, those are the things that you have to do to renew, for sure. That's what they're going to go by. It'll say this or this or this. You pick one of the ors. That's what you do. So always follow the requirements printed on the license. Really good for, especially for your young new teachers, is to take them to KSDE and do a license lookup. Show them how to get to their license, where their license number is. Those are things they're going to need if you're going to hook them into our system anyway. And it's just good for them to know how to get to their license and how to print it. In those cases where maybe you have staff that maybe tend to procrastinate a little, and that have, especially for those that have bachelors and are needing college credit, this is just an option I wanted to throw out there. Sometimes we have people call and they have weeks or less to to get some college credits, and so we can hook them into a book study to get a quick college credit or 2 or 4. And so this is our Kokopelli book study option is a quick option. Our graders are really great about if we tell them, hey, this is a rush, they will get it graded and get the, Patty's fabulous at getting it to MNU to get the credits posted. And
Right, and what I wanted to add to that was, like, the fall session is gonna start September 9th and it goes to December, whatever.
well, I mean,
But you don't need to wait until the end of the session to have your grade posted. As soon as you submit the assignments and they're graded, I submit your grade to MNU and they post it. So if somebody is in a crunch and they let me know they're in a crunch, then we kind of speed it up a little bit. But it doesn't have to wait till the end of the session to be on your college transcript.
right. And MNU's been really great to work with on that. Point approval. The PDC must approve all the professional development points, including college credit. That's, you guys are, the regulation says that's who must approve the points, is the PDC. Renewal activities, any points earned for a renewal must happen during that 5-year license period. They can't be from 8 years ago. They have to be during that 5-year license. People can renew up to 6 months ahead of their license renewal. The system will tell you if you go in a day early, like I did. And I said, oh, it's close enough. And I got a reject. No, you can't renew until 6 months. But the minute that window opens, you can renew. Something to say about that is this often confuses people as well, because a lot of people like to renew early, like myself. But then there's, at this moment, if you would go into license lookup and look me up, you would see 2 licenses. You would see the one that doesn't expire until November, and you'd see the new one that I just renewed that starts in November. So even though I've renewed, that new license isn't in effect until my expiration date. And so that gets confusing sometimes for people who maybe do it over the summer, but really their date isn't until mid-fall. And so they go to in-service and everything and they get their points. And then on their expiration date, those points go null because it's a new period. And so I always encourage them, keep entering your points, because again, it's going back to that needing to be able to point back to knowledge. But just be aware that, one, you apparently didn't need those points because you renewed and you had enough. But you don't get to carry them over to the next license period. So, and then Master's Plus experience for graduate degrees. So moving on. So renewal process, like I said, it's changed from probably 6-8 years ago. You apply for your license on you apply for your license on the ksde.org page. You go to the KLAS system. If you don't have an account, you'll make an account. If you do and you forgot your password, it's super easy. They have a forgot password situation. It works really well. I can tell you from experience. So you enter your password, you'll go in and select the license you need to renew. You fill out a few pieces of information. You will tell it, it'll ask, one of the questions it asks you is, where did you earn your points, or where are the points housed? And you'll point back to your school district. If you have a teacher who has come from another district recently, like within the last year, tell them to point back to both, to say your district and the prior district. And that way those points will get pulled as well. Then in theory, KSDE will notify the district office or whoever the designated person in authenticated apps is to upload transcripts, asking for the official PDC transcript. Generally, for those that are our clients, I'll get an email, or Patty will, from the superintendent asking for the official transcript. We send that to them. They upload it through authenticated apps. And then once KSDE has that, they'll ask you for your payment, and voila, you'll have a license. Now, we are finding at the moment, the district is not getting a notification that an application is in there. So I would tell your people that if they have renewed recently and they've not been asked for payment and it's been a week or more, check first with the district office, see if they got the email. Maybe it's sitting in their approvals in authenticated apps. If it's not, then contact KSDE. They've had this glitch going on for several weeks now, and hopefully it gets fixed real soon. But tell them to be proactive. Don't wait until their license is expiring and wait, I renewed, but I never got my license. So I'd wait a week, and because it should be instantaneous. It should be the minute they hit submit that the district gets notified. And currently at the moment, that doesn't seem to be happening every time. But those are the basic steps. And I'm going to pass that up. This, for those that are struggling with renewal, if you go to our website on the PDC page, I have, it's called a scribe, but it's just a step-by-step how to renew, has all the screenshots. Let me make that a little bit bigger. I just went through as I renewed my license and pulled the screenshots so that people could see exactly what they're looking for. So hopefully that'll help some of your staff that are maybe leery of doing an online application. There's step-by-step instructions on our website. So I've mentioned several times, I don't know that everyone that is either online or in the room are actually some of our clients, but we do have PDC 2.0, and I'm going to shamelessly plug it. I think it's a great system. It's easy, it's paperless, no more paper and pencil. Your staff gets in, puts their own points in, you can do activity loads. So next week at in-service, everyone signs in on a sign-in sheet. The PDC chair takes it, enters everyone's points at once, and it's over. You get, with that, we will send a consultant twice a year to your district to visit with your teachers. Hopefully, they will get to visit with every teacher. we have a district that I think is just the perfect model of what should happen during a PDC visit day. They actually hire a substitute to cover the PDC chair, and that chair sits with the consultant. They ensure that every single teacher on staff sees the consultant, to the point of once we kind of saw who we were missing, the PDC chair would go cover the class so the person could come and visit with the consultant. It's a great thing to help keep track of where people are. If you've got people that are on the bubble that are maybe procrastinating, it's a good chance for the consultant to say, hey, you know, I see you renew in a year and you don't have your college credit yet. What's your plan? Tell me what you're going to do to be proactive about this. And we see with the districts that use that, just a lot less expirations happening. I've had a couple where I had a guy I used to work with, and he told me at our spring visit he was going right to his room and he was going to renew. And then over the summer, you know, he didn't. And when he came back to school in the fall, he came in and said, do you tell everyone that you were right, first of all, and don't let your license expire. It is a pain to get it back. You have to go back through fingerprinting, you have to do all these things, and the longer you let it go up being expired, the harder it is. So using our system kind of helps prevent some of that, or at least take some of the burden off of you, and puts where it ought to be is on the person that's renewing. I'm just going to briefly show you what that system looks like. This is something, if you are using our system, please go over this with your staff. It'll help you because it's step-by-step of where they go, what they do, and how to enter points. You can easily go to our website, swprsc.org, go to online tools, and you'll see PDC 2.0 there, or you can go to swppdc.com. The website, this is exactly what the website looks like. And on this, there will be some helpful resources. That step-by-step process that I showed you earlier is on this page. They can get to that easy. They can log into PDC 2.0 here. So this is what when I log in, this is what the site looks like. For those districts that are with us, it is customized with your school colors, your school mascot, etc. Sorry, words are hard today. The menu is up at the top on the right, and so a person can log in or sign up here. If they log in, it'll just pop up a username and password. We do not keep those passwords. But if they don't remember, they can use the lost password button, and it will send an email to them with a reset button. They can log in, or they can also sign up using the sign up button, or they can register here. And when they go to do that, if you have new staff that have never used the system, they would need to do this. If they're coming from another system, you might check with us if that system used us, because we can easily transfer them and their points over to your system very, very quickly. When they fill it out, the teacher ID is going to be their license number. So this is yet another good opportunity to take them to KSD's website, do a license lookup, show them where their license number is, where all this information is. They will put in whether they have a bachelor's, a master's, doctorate, whatever, their name, their email. We would prefer that they use their school email so that when Patty sends out the emails before the visit, it goes to the school. Their license start date, that'll be on their license expiration, an address, and then district code. That is going to be your USD number. Okay, so it's not a magic code, it's just your USD number. And that's what hooks it into your system. In this top gray bar on your page, there's tabs. The FAQ tab has a user's guide. It has videos for PDC chairs on how to load building activities, so that would be the activity loads. It has how to autofill your district or your building goals. It has videos for teachers on how to enter their knowledge points, enter their application points, enter their impact and their college hours. They're step-by-step videos, easy to point someone to learn how to do those things. The transcript tab is where they can, one, look at their record and see how many points they have. And this is also where they're going to actually do the submission. So make sure that you let them know if it's knowledge points, you're going to use this first one that's submitting for knowledge. If it's college credit, use the college credit one, etc. And then service to profession is its own. The development plan should populate with your district's goals. So the staff members should never have to go in and enter the district goals. Then they will enter their personal goals. And then once they hit submit, that'll go into the pending approvals for the PDC chair or whoever is the administrator that's going to click the submit button or the approval. I think I said this before, but great first day of school for all your staff. Get them in there. Amend is what you click. They'll take them to their development plan and amend it. And at a minimum, change the dates. Update those dates so that the plan is up to date. If you are chair or have administrative rights to the program, you will see the district tab, and that's where you can enter your district goals. You can view transcripts. That's where you do your activity loads. Activity loads are fabulous. You take that sign-in sheet, put in everyone that went, put in the pertinent information. You will now get a message when you submit that says, "Are you sure?" Just because when you enter those, it automatically approves everyone as individual entries. But if there has been an error, the only people that can change it are us. We do that on purpose because we don't want just anyone being able to go in and change a record once it's been approved individually. And so if you have 100 people at an in-service and it's wrong, that's 100 entries we have to go change. And Patty she does it with a smile. But it does cause some stress. So we've now implemented into the program where it's going to ask you to just double check, because we all get in a hurry or we get interrupted or whatever. And so we're kind of forcing you to take a pause and make sure that all the information is correct before you continue. Once someone has submitted a points request or an individual plan, then those will show up in pending approvals. And then when you have your PDC meeting, that's where those will show up, and you can click on them. It'll show you what they entered. It'll show you any attachments that they uploaded, and that's where it can be approved. So some best practices, some things that we think would be helpful for you, for your staff and for you. We ask that points requests are made in 15-minute increments. So if they go to something and it only lasts 20 minutes, have them put in 0.25 for a quarter of an hour. 0.20 is absolutely not 20 minutes. So it just makes the figuring a little more accurate. Check for negative point requests before you approve them. Sometimes people get key happy and they might get a dash in front of the points, and the program reads a dash as a negative. And so we've had occasions where a person asked for knowledge points, but it came up as -6, and so they were losing points instead of gaining them. Make sure you're approaching your activity loads with care. Check for the right dates and the points and the people. When there is something entered incorrectly for an individual, there's a couple of ways you can fix that. The first way would be before you approve it, just reject it. So you can click reject, and then you can put in the comments whatever the reason is that you are rejecting it. Maybe they forgot to upload their transcript, or maybe it doesn't meet the definition of service to education or whatever. You can put a comment in there, and then they can go in when they get that back, and they can edit it and resubmit it for approval, fix it. If you can also approve the request and contact Patty or I to help correct that. Not the best way, but can be done. Sometimes people don't realize until, I clicked it out of habit, and so we can help you fix that.
Tracy, I was gonna add one thing
Yes.
about that. Sometimes people request college credit that is so many college credits that the system doesn't have it in the drop down. Then you can approve it for the most points the system will let you, and then you just email me or call me and I'll up it to whatever it's supposed to be. That happens every once in a
Yeah,
while.
once in a blue moon, but.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, things that should not fly. Anything entered as a span of time, like an 8-year period. One, you only can approve points that are within their license period, which is 5 years. So 8 is outside of that. But especially with college credit has to be entered per course. It asks you for a course number, the college it was taken from, all of that so that it can be verified. So to put in an 8-year span and then put in 10 college hours shouldn't fly. It shouldn't get past your PDC committee. Then also, this is back to that whole service to education. Substitute teaching is not a service to education. Yes, it's a wonderful, valiant thing you're doing, but you get paid to do that. It's considered a job. It is not service to education. So just some things to kind of watch for. People try to be creative when they're needing points. So those are just a couple of examples we've had recently that we felt like we needed to remind everyone that, especially those college credits, they've got to be entered by the course and not a span of courses, and not one entry for your entire master's degree. It unfortunately has to be every course. So again, recommend to them, as you finish a course, go ahead and put it in. Don't wait till the end of your master's and then put in every course you took. And so rapidly, we made it through all of the PDC chair annual training material. You did it. You held on and made it through. And so at this point, if you're online or if you're with us here today and you do not use our PDC 2.0 system, then you are either under another system or you have to write your own 5-year plan. And Ed, I'm sure we'll be in contact with you soon about that. And so you are free to go. If you use our PDC 2.0, I'm going to give us a break. And when we come back from break, we're going to quickly go through those local points. It's very easy. I swear to you, I promise it is easy. But I am going to walk you through it and explain some of the thinking behind it. We'll be sending you over the break a copy of the master plan that we have worked with KSDE to develop. That is going to be taken to the state board. And we will send you the link to the Google form that we're going to fill out. As we fill that local point or local plan out, when you submit it, it's going to go into this magic pot where Patty's going to stir it with her magic wand. And she's going to make it into the format that KSDE is asking us for. So, and then once we have all those, we're going to insert those as links into our master plan for you so that your plan is inside of ours. Does that kind of make sense? We will also, by the end of the week, be sending the master plan to your superintendent because the state is asking us to have every district sign off that they agree that they're under our master plan and that except where the differences are in the local plan that we're going to fill out, that you agree with the master plan. And so I'll be sending this document to all the superintendents to get their signatures on. We have to have all of this done before September, before it goes to state board. So let's take about a 5-minute break, come back at 2:15 or 1:15.
And I just sent an email to everybody at the email you registered for this training. I just sent the 5-year plan and the link to the Google form.
One other caveat, if one of your colleagues came to our morning session, they probably filled out the form already. We only need one person from each district to fill out the form. So if you came as a team, work together, but only one of you fill out the form.
Yeah, and I can, if you don't know, ask me because I can see who's already filled it out.
Yeah. So let's take a break and grab a drink or use the facilities, and we'll come back at about 2:15-ish, 2:18-ish, and we'll fill out that plan and get you guys on the road. We don't need to record the last part, right?
I don't think so. Yeah, I can tell you who's